In this episode, I have some super exciting news for all you classic fantasy fans. And believe me, it is very exciting. So exciting that I ran out of synonyms for fantastic to use when I heard about it. Welcome to the Mythras Matters podcast, Season 1, Episode 70. Epic Classic Fantasy News. Hello and welcome to Mythras Matters, a podcast dedicated to the Mythras rule set and all its supplements. As always, I am your host Inwils and welcome to June. Now, after a chat with John Sneed and Matt Eager, I am completely buzzing about my new horror campaign. Two aspects of the game I haven't decided on yet is fatigue in relation to spells and powers, and whether I want the characters to go insane. I've always liked the idea of characters getting exhausted when they're using up their power points, but I'm not too sure what it would actually do to the dynamics of the game. I would not want the players to get weaker and weaker as the session progresses, or even end up with the majority of the party passed out unconscious, especially if it happens to be at the end of a big fight and means that their bodies are left unprotected for the hideous opponent to gorge on their souls. However, I do like the idea that they have to use their powers wisely, because there is a possibility of them passing out. I will probably have to talk to my players about this and see what they would like to happen, or even try a couple of sessions with different mechanics to see how it impacts on the role-playing and the success of the sessions. For the element of insanity, I know that the game has the tenacity mechanic, which can facilitate the concept of insanity, but I'm not sure that I want this to slowly decline as characters find more about the nasties that are causing the problems. I think I want them to know what is going on and use their understanding to ensure that the things or occurrences are stopped. Sanity or insanity appears to play such an important part in all the horror-style campaigns that I am hesitant to remove it in any way, and yet, for the gifted campaign, it seems somewhat ill-fitting. Maybe there could be a second, more horrifying reality that is lurking in the depths of the campaign that the characters slowly unearth. This would give them the feeling that there is something out there that is potentially more threatening than what they usually deal with. I like that idea, especially if I bring it in after a few sessions, so the party are getting the feeling that they're quite powerful, and then they get a sudden power shock as their tenacity starts to drop. This leads me on to think about what causes their tenacity to drop, and I have decided to move away from horrific sights since I'm never that good at describing these. I do want this unbelievable force to have the power of removing their tenacity. In this way, they have the ability to drain tenacity like draining their life force. I will create a suitable mechanic for recovering the resource, but always integrate the possibility that tenacity could be lost forever or not fully recharge. This would mean that some characters might have to take a back seat at certain points of the adventure because they might run the risk of their life force being depleted completely. When a character or person has had all their life force or tenacity drained away, then they might just look like an empty husk of bodies, which would be a great way to introduce the threat, especially after medical roles tell them that maybe their soul has been consumed or there's no life left in the body. It reminds me of desiccated coconut. As ever, I'm reaching out to the fantastic community of Mythras and all its supplements. So if you have any ideas or experience of running horror campaigns, could you please get in touch and give me some pointers? Do let me know in the comments or in the After the Vampire Wars channel in the Discord. As always, I really appreciate it. Okay, so next up, the bit that you have all been waiting for. While I was preparing the content for episode 70, I received a message that made me stop everything and arrange a time to chat with Brian. In the intro, I mentioned running out of synonyms for fantastic when I heard what is coming our way soon. You have waited long enough. Over to you, Brian.
All right. Well, my name is Brian Pivick. I'm the managing editor at the Design Mechanism. And let's see, I've been working with them for, I want to say it's been 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, managing all of the editorial. And yeah, this is the first book that I've actually written for the Design Mechanism. Yeah.
So we're all sat here at the edge of our seats waiting for this fantastic news. So for all classic fantasy players and GMs, tell us what is in the pipeline.
Well, let's see. If you have ever wanted to know more about the world of what was formerly called Greymoor, which is now called Greymere, we have pretty exciting news that we have a Greymere Gazetteer in progress. And we're actually very, very close to having it finished. And we're looking at a publication date sometime in 2026, if possible. And yeah, it is an entire book on the world of Greymere, which is also called Ariath. The people of Greymere just call it Greymere, but the proper name is Ariath of the world. And it is very similar in many ways to Greyhawk. You will find influences of Kryn in there as well, and a little bit of the Forgotten Realms, a little bit in there as well. But it is its own distinct world. It is very much focused on the classic fantasy line. So anything that has been published previously, any adventure that you may have played through for classic fantasy, has all of that information in there as well. A lot more.
That sounds absolutely unbelievable. Just because we have a lot of international listeners, what exactly is a gazetteer? Is that?
Yeah. So basically, the book is an analysis of a lot of different things about the world. So a gazetteer essentially is like a tour guide on the world itself. So every single city, town, the village that is on the map, the main map, which is a gorgeous map, is detailed. All of the major people, sometimes minor people as well, NPCs that you may come across if you're in a certain area, village, town, forest, whatever you happen to visit. There's lots of information in there about each and every one of them. So it kind of gives you a good overview of what the world is like. And you can plop your characters in pretty much any part of the world. And there's a ton of information in the book for you as a games master to run with. Yeah.
Sounds absolutely fantastic. So as a GM, coming into classic fantasy, especially when players are creating their characters, one thing I always need to know about are things like orders or deities or demigods and things like that. Will they all be in this gadgeteer when it arrives?
Absolutely. In addition to all of the deities and the cosmology listed in the original classic fantasy book and in some of the adventure books as well, the Gazetteer will have a large number of new gods and goddesses and demigods and things like that that you can worship as a character. You can encounter NPCs who may be worshippers of those different deities. There's an expanded cosmology as well. In the original classic fantasy, there were several of the planes of existence that weren't really detailed, and we've now detailed all of those. So now we have, chaotic lawful or chaotic good cosmology areas or planes of existence. We have groups, as you mentioned. We have different guilds. We have fighter guilds, paladin guilds, monk orders. You name it, we probably have a group that kind of covers it. Thieves Guild, etc. Mages Guild, so you can get all the training you need to learn how to cast Fireball.
Yeah, that very favorite spell that comes up all the time. So I assume there is a map. Is it a hex map that comes with it?
Yes, there is a rather large hex map that covers the entire known world. There are places off the map that are not expanded on in the Gazetteer at this time because we have such a huge map to begin with. We didn't want to overwhelm at this point, but there are places on the east and west that are just unknown for the characters. The map itself is a hex map. There are rules for a hex crawl, if that's what your character, what your players really like to do. We have expanded rules on survival, and those were originally put together by Rod, and I've put those rewritten that chapter so that it's easier to read, and it helps you figure out if you have a mixed group of, let's say, humans and a halfling who's can't obviously walk as fast as a normal human.
Yeah.
Rules for how quickly you could go through different hexes and what you would need to do to forage, to hunt, to survive, all of that. So think of it as like the social rules that are in the Mythras Companion.
Yes.
This book has the expanded rules on survival. So that's sort of like a nice way to kind of think about it. Yes, but the map is huge.
Yeah. Will it be like a paper copy? Is it something that I can put up on my wall behind me when I'm streaming? Is it going to be like that?
Yeah, I don't know what the final version of the map is going to be like. I would ideally love to have a full-size map to put up on a wall.
Yes.
Back in the old days when I played RuneQuest 2, RuneQuest 1, RuneQuest 3, I was really big into Glorantha at the time. And I had a huge map on the wall, and it was always exciting to see where the characters or where the players really wanted to go. And I would love to do that. So, yeah, I don't know what the final version of the map is going to look like, but it is big. It is very, very big.
Excellent. And I think even if it's an optional extra, I mean, I would definitely pay for a big map, for my wall. I just think it's brilliant. Well, one of the things that I'm really keen on when I'm running my campaign is sort of like staying true to the normality. So things like, the days of the week, the weather, seasons and climate and things like that. Will that be in the publication?
Yeah, there's information on the climate of the different areas. I mean, there is, if you've played, I believe it's called, there's an adventure, a classic fantasy adventure called something with Set, and it's basically located in the Egyptian Empire. So obviously the climate of the Egyptian Empire is going to be drastically different than Norsgard, which is more northern, say, Viking-ish. So the climates are expanded on in there. We have the days of the week in the common. So just as an example, like January, approximately January is called Winter's Crest in the common language. The Egyptians call it Tehuti, and we also have like the seasons, the special holidays that land on different areas. And yeah, I mean, we have as much information as we can possibly give for the characters for the game master, for the player to kind of just feel like this is a real living world. So yes, all of that stuff
Sounds
is
wonderful. And obviously Greymere's been there for a while.
right.
So will there be anything about the history, what's happened in the past, what's
Yes.
been the major kingdoms and things like that?
Yeah, the history has its own chapter. It's about 17 pages long, and it is no, actually, that's the groups I was looking at. That's not, let's see, history is about 15 pages long, and it covers
Nice.
the origins of a sort of Atlantis-esque mythical civilization that once existed. It's mentioned in the original classic fantasy. And here we've expanded on it a little bit, and we've given some more information about where humans come from on this planet, because humans are fairly new to the
Yeah.
planet, to the world of area, and where they come from, what happened to Atlan, which is the Atlantis-esque civilization. We talk about the Dragon Kings and the rise and the fall of them, and how they pretty much took over most of the known world, and then how they were overthrown by the first king of the kingdom of Greymere, whose name is Lucian Arvindale. And yeah, so we give a lot of information about the history of the world, the history of the different areas. So to kind of back up a little bit, like the world is called the world of Greymere, but really there's just the kingdom of Greymere is the most important
Right.
sort of civilization on the world, and there are other civilizations as well, and every one of those is detailed in quite detailed information. So yeah, my words are failing me today.
No, it sounds really, really, really good, and I've just got so many questions. So obviously, there's been like wars and battles in Greymere. Is there the opportunity for characters to get involved with that?
Yeah, we have one of the rules that Rod originally wanted to put in the book was to have essentially like large scale warfare. So
Oh, fantastic!
if you have the supplement ships and shield walls, you may be familiar with a little bit of kind of how those
Yes,
work on a grand
yeah,
scale. And so we wanted to incorporate that in. All of the different major civilizations in the world have their armies and navies outlined, and that includes like the orcs, for example. That includes all of the different kingdoms around the world. So what they have, if you want to play like a large scale warfare game, you've got what you need.
yes. It sounds brilliant. And are there any new? Well, you sort of like talked about the Nord area, the Vikings and the Egyptians, which are essentially humans. Are there any other demi-humans in the world?
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to do was really expand on the options for gameplay. And so I've created four new demi-human options for people to play. I'll kind of leave that as a teaser, but yeah,
Yes.
there are four different groups. In addition to the normal, classic fantasy demi-humans, dwarves, elves, etc. I've also expanded on those cultures to give it a little bit more information and sort of background. So let's say if you're a half orc, you may not be just, a truly barbaric half orc. You may want to have a passion where you want to become, a famous bard. And so there's expansion on each one of those demi-human cultures. And
Nice.
obviously, in addition to that, there's a ton of different human cultures as well that are greatly expanded on.
Fantastic. And I think you mentioned earlier that all the towns and cities and villages have been detailed as well.
That's correct. Yeah. From the major city, which is the great city of Greymere, to like the villages that are basically shown on the map, all of those are detailed. So I'll just pull up an example really quick. So in the hinterlands, which is an area to the east of Graymere,
Yeah.
there are several towns and cities. One of those is Mulheim. It has 1,000 residents, and Mulheim is a place renowned for blacksmiths and weaponsmiths. I have NPCs of note. For example, Greta Ironfist. She's a dwarf blacksmith and weaponsmith who is very
Oh,
well.
nice.
And then there's also the owner of the Blazing Hearth Inn. So all of these characters have, at least a paragraph or two, depending on, the importance of them to the area. And then throughout the book as well, I've tried to incorporate as many plot hooks for games masters. So,
Excellent.
As an example, it's quite a big book.
Yeah, find a good one.
Yeah,
I bet they're all good. They're all good.
Absolutely. So the king of the hinterlands, his name is König Aldrich the Steadfast. And he has recently gone off on like these solitary wanderings into like the nomadic tribes in the nearby grasslands. And he seems to be, for some reason, obsessed with them. So one of the plot hooks for him is that he's disappeared. And so the adventurers have to try to find him before, civil war erupts or before a foreign power steps in, tries to claim the territory. So, if you have characters who are from the hinterlands, you would have a great deal of interest in trying to find your king to bring him home. Yes.
Brilliant. It sounds as if it's so packed full of lore, history, but also it seems to give that bit of creativity. There'll be things that games masters can sort of think, oh, I can use that now or use that later, etc. So it sounds absolutely brilliant. So, of course, the biggest question that everybody listening to this is asking, when is this coming out?
As I say on the Discord, soon, with a trademark sign right above it. We being such a small company, the design mechanism does an amazing job of getting books out, and I feel like we do a great job of making them as professional as possible. For just being a small group, I'm really proud of all the work that we do. So that being said, I think we're probably looking at 2026 for publication. Yeah.
Yeah, which is not far away at all. And am I right in that saying that all the modules for classic fantasy are places in Graymere? Is that correct?
Absolutely. So there's a code that each book has.
Yeah.
So, for example, A1 is the Temple of Set. A means it's set in the Kingdom of Egypt. So each one of those has a layout and a place in the world of Graymere. So all of those are backwards compatible with this book that's coming out. Yeah.
So a games master could actually play one of those module adventures and then travel to another module site, and in between have a huge amount of adventures and then do the next module. That, I presume, that would be possible.
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely the way that we have sort of organized all of those. And I can't take credit for that. That was all Rod's concept from the beginning. Yeah, but all of those are compatible for sure.
And it sounds as if games masters can just, once it's out and they've read it, they can just choose an area and just go straight in and start adventuring there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as I mentioned before, you could just literally plop your characters down in a single hex. You could use the rules from the survival chapter and figure out, okay, where do they want to go? How long is it going to take them to get there? Do they need to hunt? Do they need to fish to try to survive? Or you could just say, okay, plop them in a town. Here's the information on, some of the NPCs in the town, what the town is known for, how many people live there, and just roll with it. Yeah. So you could do anything you want. My hope is that this book really gives the games master and the players like so much richness and so much information that they could literally take and just go anywhere and have a fun adventure.
Most definitely, and that's exactly how I will be using it when it arrives. Most definitely, it just sounds to be. It sounds to me to be that sort of resource that you can just sit and read, over coffee in the morning or late in the afternoon and gain so much from it. But it's more than just a good read. It's packed full of so many possibilities for players and games masters alike.
Yes. Yeah. I think that there's a lot. I mean, even if you don't necessarily use the setting, I think there's a ton of information that you could pull from, bits and pieces, whatever works for you and your game. I feel like there's enough in there that you could really just roll with that. But yeah, I mean, if you want to play in Greymere, please do. Yeah.
Sounds absolutely brilliant, and I can't wait to 2026. I'm hoping it's early 2026. That's what I'm really hoping for, because it'd be fantastic. Yeah.
It's currently in Carol's hands. She's a fantastic editor. She's done a really, really wonderful job. And I mean, even being an editor myself, knowing that it's in, her hands and knowing that she's, doing a fantastic job with her editorial makes me really happy. And I'm super excited to see it in publication.
One thing I was going to ask, I've just remembered, are we having artwork in there? Because I know artwork in the design mechanism is brilliant. So there's some excellent artwork.
Yes, Soph and I will be working very closely to, I want to definitely make sure that the new demi-humans that I have in there have like some excellent artwork. And I think that there's a difference between all of the sort of kingdoms and the way people dress and the way people wear their hair and all of these different things that we can really, show the distinctiveness of all of these different groups and peoples. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But yes, there will be tons and tons of artwork.
Excellent. And well done. This is an epic job. That you're working on, and thanks to Rod as well for laying the fantastic ground for this to be built on top of. Brilliant. Thanks so much, Brian, for coming along to this podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Ian.
This is truly an epic resource, and I can't wait to read it and let the players explore Greymere. Do let us know in the comments and on the Discord what you think about it. And that's it. Another episode of Mythras Matters completed. Don't forget you can check out all my content by following my YouTube channel and the campaign areas on World Anvil. You can become members of the Order on both my Patreon and Ko-fi pages, where there are a number of perks for you to enjoy. Links are in the show notes. I really appreciate your support, and do check out the Discord and the Tapper Talk forums, where there are great people there sharing their ideas within the discussions. So until next time, have a great month of gaming, and I will chat to you all again in July. Until then, I hope all your opposed roles succeed and provide you with a well-deserved special. Thanks for listening, everyone. See ya. Bye. The content of this podcast is covered by the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, so please give appropriate credit if you are sharing or copying any part of this podcast. Thank you.